Hey, Mr. Miyagi! Everyone, it is snowing here. Are you kidding me? First day of spring was yesterday, and we just had a snow squall last night, and there's snow everywhere. Anyways, I'm going to do this segment. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to start doing other things. I know you guys were kind of expecting a lot for the Ace Pro from me, and I will do that from time to time when something comes up, new firmware, or if there's any new accessories or testing done. Right now the camera is doing really well, and we're again starting to see more and more videos and reviews. People who have bought the camera, not sponsored, not paid, not given cameras, they're actually doing honest reviews. And then there's a couple, you guys know who you are, and you guys have seen it, really biased reviews. This particular one person I got into a kind of a banter with. You know what, that's great, love it. If he wants to go ahead and do that, that's his thing. But just take a look at his comments and look at all the people who are like, no, this is totally biased. And they have one person, you guys know who that is, who, oh, honest review. The first one he's been waiting for. Honest review. I'm dying. You know what? This used to bother me, but I'm just having fun with this guy now. Whatever, dude. Like, anyways. So today's segment is going to be on. I know a lot of people have shown some interest in my channel because they've seen me do some 3D stuff, 3D printing stuff, and I do a lot of design work. So my background is drafting, and I do a lot of design as well. Let me turn on my music here. I got indie music going. Hey guys, tonight, you guys are watching Roadhouse, the remake is on. I don't know if you guys remember this. Patrick Swayze did the original one back in '89, I believe. Awesome movie. They've remade this movie. It's going to be Jake Gyllenhaal in it, and it looks like it's going to be awesome. It's going to be based on MMA fighter, and they've got Connor in there, one of the most popular MMA fighters out there. So I can't wait to watch that tonight. I'm going to do back to back, so the old one and the new one, Roadhouse. So I booked tonight off. It's going to be awesome. 3D printers. This is going to be kind of a short segment. I'm not going to get too technical, and I'm just kind of introducing 3D printing for people who are kind of entering this market or this category of hobby. I do it. I've been doing it for a few years now, and I actually self-taught myself. What? I actually taught myself how to do it. The reason why I got into it is I actually started when the pandemic hit, because I got laid off my job. And I was selling cameras at Best Buy and appliances, and I got laid off, so I had to find something to kind of keep myself busy and something I could do at home. So yeah, I've always been looking at these, and I actually bought my first 3D printer about what, 4 years now? 3.5, 4 years now, when the pandemic hit. So a few months after, anyways, when they announced everything was shutting down. And I got this thing, I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be awesome, this is gonna be easy, I've seen all these people do it. Dude, it is not an easy thing to get into. I'm gonna tell you that I'm not gonna dance around on cloud 9 with you guys. I'm not gonna sugarcoat. It is not for the weak at heart. It is a huge learning curve, and it literally took me a good 1.5 to 2 years to get it down packed to the point where I'm confident and I know tips and tricks. And I'll go through this with segment. If you guys want me to continue on kind of teaching guys and tutoring how to do 3D printing and step by step and what to buy and what to use, let me know. If I'm just doing an introductory with 3D printing, and if you want me to continue on, I can certainly do this. I would love to teach you guys starting from the very beginning, as if you have no knowledge of 3D printing. I'm going to start where I started. I think that's a lot of the ones that you see now are kind of, they go through a whole bunch of stuff, this and this and this and that. I'm like, and I've watched hundreds of these videos to learn, and a lot of it is picking up points from these videos, these technical videos, and then I would experience a lot of it on my own, because I'm at the point where now I can actually fix my own 3D printer. So if it goes down, I know I have parts everywhere for it, and they're not expensive, and I can fix the belts, I can fix the extruders, I can fix the stepping motors, anything like that, the X and Y rods, that kind of thing. So I've gotten good at doing that. And that took 3.5 years to learn. There's other elements too. There's the software element. It's not just hardware, it's actually a lot of software. So it's not as easy as just taking the 3D object and just, hey, I got a 3D object, I'm just going to print it. It's not that easy, unfortunately, because you have to take a 3D created or designed object, and you have to what they call slice it. And what that basically means that it's taking this object and you're putting it through a software. I use Cura exclusively. There's a few other ones that you can use. I prefer Cura. I'm just used to it. So you're basically slicing this object. You're going inside the object. You're basically dissecting it, and you're telling the printer what to print in terms of how many layers, walls, and the inside supports and overhangs and stuff like that. And I'll get into that more technical. But I just want to do a quick intro of 3D printing and what's out there right now and what the differences are. The two biggest, most popular 3D printers in the market for homes. There are professional ones. I'm not going to get into that. I don't do it, so it's not a big deal. And I'll show you a couple samples of what you can actually do with this over time and the things that you can learn. And like I said, I will, if you want, I will go through some tips and tricks with you guys and teach you guys and know what to use and what to buy and where to buy and what prices that you should be paying. As an intro, a 3D printer, there's two types of 3D printers right now. There's what they call an FDM printer, which is what I use, and then they'll call a resin printer, okay? The two main differences, FDM uses a solid line of plastic. They're called PLAs, okay? There's different types of plastic. There's ABS, PLA, PETG. There's even TPU you can use, which is a flexible, like the stuff they use for cell phone cases and that kind of stuff. And I'll go through that in the next few segments as well, and what the differences are. FDM is probably the most used printer in a home market, in the commercial market, for a couple reasons. First, they're cheaper. They're cheaper to maintain, and they're also less, how do you say it, toxic. And I'll tell you that why in a second. And they're just easier to fix, and you don't need extra equipment. And the plastic itself is actually cheaper, and you can pick up deals everywhere on Amazon and different places. Now, what is a resin printer? A resin printer uses liquid plastic. So basically, what it does is you fill a pool of liquid in a like a reservoir, and there is a platform, and you print basically upside down. And as the platform is raising, it's actually printing and solidifying that resin, and it's lifting it up. So your prints are coming up upside down, stuck to a platform mostly, right? Because it's a dipping process, right? Sort of. Well, what's the difference between what's the advantage of a resin printer over a FDM printer or solid plastic? Resin printers are where you see a lot of people use in terms of very small detail objects like figures, figurines. You're gonna see that a lot in Dungeons and Dragons. People who are doing small figurines like this, like tiny. And I could do it on mine. The only problem with that is you're not gonna get the kind of smoothness or the kind of detail you would with a resin printer, because it's liquid based. It's basically just solidifying liquid as it's coming out. It's not printing line at a time. That's what FDMs do. It actually prints line at a time, and in many cases, and you'll see that if you don't do it right, if you don't do the settings, or you'll see kind of banding on the prints, and you kind of have to post edit or smooth that out by sanding it or whatever, right? You can achieve pretty smooth output. It's still not going to be as good as resin printers. So that's the biggest difference. Now the disadvantage of a resin printer is you're working with liquid plastic, which is very dangerous in terms of toxicity. You have to have an open area. You have to have a well ventilated room to use resin printers. And you're working with liquid, which means you need special safety gear. So that's not something I really want to get into, because I do a lot of printing in the winter. I don't have, you're even really supposed to have good ventilation for FDM, because initially you're melting plastic into a soft form, and then it hardens, right? So you're still going to get fumes coming out of that. And I have it in my workshop, and there's a window there. It's a pretty big workshop, so it kind of airs out a little bit. But you should have, for any of these printers, a safety thing. You should always have a well ventilated area, especially with the resin. Resin's actually worse for you. So that's it. I'm not going to get too much into resin unless you guys want to ask me about resin printers. I've only worked with resin printer a couple times. I'm more FDM printers. So I'm just going to go over what you can do with a FDM printer. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Yeah, I know. I keep saying that, but I never do. So FDM printers uses print heads, just like printers. And they're different sizes. You can get 0.3, which is your standard size. You can go down to 0.2. 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, and you can go, I think the maximum you can go up to is 0.9, I think. I'm not sure. I don't use, it's too big. I use exclusively 0.6 for the most of the stuff that I do, and it does really well. Like all the stuff that I print out here is all 0.6. And the reason why I use a 0.6 is so the larger the nozzle print head that you use, it's a larger nozzle, the less quality you're gonna have. If you go up higher nozzle size, you lose detail quality, but you gain speed. Okay. When you buy a printer, it typically comes with a 0.3 nozzle. That's a pretty standard nozzle. Now, for let's say, for example, this Darth Vader here. This is basically hollow inside. It's just a wall. I don't need support on the inside because it's just a showcase model. I'm not using it for anything, right? So it doesn't have to be super strong, right? Something like this to print with supports, and I mean supports is any overhanging spots on this model requires supports because it can't print in the air, right? In the middle of the air. So it requires support to go out and print over the support. With the support, this would probably take on a 0.6 nozzle about 5 to 6 hours to print time. Okay, and that's not including finish time, paint time, whatever afterwards. With a 0.3 nozzle, you can pretty much almost double that time. The same model, it would probably take about 10 to 12 hours to print. I'm very impatient when it comes to things like that. And you can see that the smoothness is actually not too bad at all. Now you're going to gain a little bit more detail and more smoother open layers like that with a 0.3, but you sacrifice that with time. So that's the difference between the two. Okay, I've done this is a 0.6. You know, yeah, it's okay, but if you look at it with a mag or look up close, you'll see that there's ridges on it, and the walls are kind of, there's banding, there's lines. Not going to be a resin or a 0.3 nozzle printer. So those are the print heads, very simple. Filaments. Filament is the plastic you use, and these usually come in rolls. Let me just go grab a roll for example here. These are filaments. They're just in rolls, and typical filament is they're the size is 1.75 millimeter. Okay, and they're usually 2.2 pounds or 1 kilogram per roll. And they range anywhere. If you find sales, like I always look for sales on Amazon, and typically they're about 20 bucks a roll, and they'll last quite a long time. Depends on what you're printing. But sometimes you'll find sales are like 17 bucks. This is Canadian. You find them for 15, 17 bucks a roll, and I'll just pick up a pile of them, right? Because black and white is what I use the most. Because I do a lot of testing, and when I test, I want to get the cheapest filament. And there are different grades of filament, so sometimes when you buy cheap filaments, they don't melt as well. They have a higher melting point. They don't stick as well. So you'll know over time which brands not to buy and which brands to buy. I only buy certain brands and I know which ones work. And sometimes I'll test it out. If it's like $12, I'll buy it and I'll test it. And sometimes they're actually pretty good. There's nothing wrong with them. You use it for test filaments, right? For prototypes. And for final print, you would use a better filament, right? So these are the filaments that you would use for an FDM printer. I won't get into too much tech specs in the printer. We'll discuss that. If you have any questions, drop me a line on what you want to know technically about the printer, and I'll answer them. I just don't want to put it on video because I want to make this kind of relatively short. The things that you can do, I do a lot of design work. So I do, you guys have seen my action camera. I have holsters, I have things that are made, actually, I design myself, and I use software design. There's a couple software I use. Tinkercad is probably the best software out there. It's the easiest software to use, and 99% of my stuff is done with Tinkercad. There's other software too. If you're good with 3D Studio and that kind of stuff, then yeah, use that, because you can export it into a 3ds or a 3D object, and then take that object and then slice it in the software for print ready. So whatever you're comfortable with, Tinkercad is probably, I learned on Tinkercad. So a majority of my stuff, like I can do, so for the new drone, I actually created this is the new Hover Air X1 drone. I actually created a belt holster for this, and it just slides right in, and it's snug, and it has a cover, and I have a holster for it. So things like that you can build, storage cases, you know, with lids and stuff like that. You measure it out, you do your design. The fun stuff that I do is I do a lot of models, and you've seen some of my models. I'll just pan the camera on afterwards. So here's some of the examples. Like this is the lightsaber from Rey from Star Wars, and it's actually, you can actually turn it. It's rotatable, so you can make things like that. And and I'll show you the sites where you can get free downloads of ready to print files, that kind of thing. And there's tons, there's literally thousands and thousands of free stuff you can print in there, and they're ranging from anywhere from models to accessories and stuff like that. But neat stuff. This was really, I love doing projects where there's a lot of pieces. So this was an old 6-shooter. And it's actually pretty neat because it's actually, I think, where did I do this? Oh, here we go. So it actually, can I do this? Oh. Hey, I don't know if I do this. I'm gonna break this. This actually comes apart. You can actually take out all the pieces and stuff like that. So I think this was like 20 pieces, and you print all the little pieces. Some guy had launches, and you put it together, and the thing spins and actually cocks and stuff like that. So neat things like that you can print. I haven't printed it. I'm not gonna. A lot of stuff I print it on. I want to go print it, but I never finished printing it. I should probably do it. Darth Vader. I have a Batman one. This is really cool. This guy designed this. Phenomenal. See the cape that comes up? It didn't require support. It's actually one print. It didn't need any supports because the printer can print certain angles that span out that don't require supports. It has to be a certain degrees, right? That you don't require support. And the reason why that is because once you add supports into any print, it adds time. So supports are basically just columns. So you're printing a whole column, and initially you're printing like two things, right? So things like that. I'll put these at the bottom here. How's my time looking here? So you can get into things like this is one I gotta print this one. This is one that I actually downloaded. So this is the Alien versus Predator model. I think this was multiple pieces. This took a while to do. Like this was probably, I would say, 40 hours of printing time doing little pieces. And it was like, I would say probably about 30, 40 pieces that you glue together, and this is the result of the so you have a female predator with a samurai sword, and you have the alien at the bottom and a fight. And I want to print this. This is going to be awesome when I actually get a chance to print. I just don't have time. It takes a lot of time to print things like this. So this was a really big project. This is an AR-15 rifle. It's not real. This is all printed, and this was 56 pieces, and you just put it all together. And it basically, it's pretty wild. Like, it's pretty neat. It's just for fun, just for showcase. It doesn't work. It doesn't have working mechanisms, right? But it's neat that you can do stuff like this. I actually have the actual airsoft version of this rifle. So that's that. This was one I did. This was really cool. I love this. I'm a big fan of Witcher, and that's his sword. And this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, and it was actually, the blade is actually put together, and it has 2 metal rods that go inside the blade that I use. You know those signs that people have outside their front yard with the real estate or political signs or voting signs. The metal rods, I use those. And I created 2 rods that goes straight through those. This is actually one held together by metal rods, and it's quite strong actually. So that's that. And painting this was a pain in the ass. So there's that, and the last but not least, this is one I've been working on. You guys know what this one is. This thing is huge. I haven't had a chance to paint this, and I need to paint this because this took a while to do, and it was massive. This is the if you don't know, this is the Conan sword. Big Conan fan. But also like stuff you can do. You can print segments. Like the printer only has a certain height limit, and you can get bigger printers, like higher, wider printers. I have 2. I have one that has a smaller platform, one of the larger platforms, so you can give a little bit more space to print. I've actually done helmets. I did a complete, you know what, I'll take you on a tour of what I've printed. So I'm just going to take you a tour of what I've done. So this is all I've done stuff for my diving. This is like, I've done pistols. I don't know if you can see, sorry. See, these are pistols. I've done a whole bunch of figures. I'm a big Marvel, Star Wars fan, so, and I did a Mech Warrior. There's Chun-Li at the back. I even designed my own. Like this was something I did for somebody. It was a Groku, and he's a scuba diver, so I put a scuba diving tank on him. So, and then I did the Battle Angel. That's all. That's what, about, I'd say 18 inches high, and that was a lot of pieces, and I really like that one. So those are the ones here, and I did a bunch of sabers, Star Wars fan, bunch of lightsabers here, and some ships and stuff like that. And I'm just gonna move on to, oh, there's one. I did this one too. I actually designed a Marvel clock that I actually sell on Cults. I sell some of the stuff. I actually designed, you'll see the dive, the hanger. I actually designed that. It's actually a travel foldable hanger for scuba vest and mask, and it works really well. And I've actually sold a ton of those on Etsy. These are some of the other models I have. Okay, I'm just gonna shut you off here, and I'll move to the next one. Okay, so this is my prized possession. This took me forever. This was a 6-month project. This is my Mandalorian full-blown costume. I actually wore it for Halloween. So I have the gauntlets, I have the shield in the front, the chest shield, the arm plates, the shoulder plates, and the helmet was awesome. The helmet took forever to do, and it was, I think, 8 pieces put together. I had to do the visor. And I've got actually LED lights on the inside, so you can actually turn it on. So I bought these LED lights from the Dollarama, and it worked pretty well. So anyways, that's it for that. That's the Mandalorian costume. So things you can do with that. All right, I'm back, guys. So those are the things you can do. There's tons of stuff. Like I've shown you half of it. There's stuff that I've done for cameras, and I've done for RCs. I've done stuff for diving. I've done stuff for my hunting, like for crossbows and compound bows, accessories for them. So I do a lot of design stuff, custom design stuff. I can pretty much design anything you want. Any mounts, and I've even designed my own action camera mounts, like, you know, different types of angles and that kind of stuff for bows and for crossbows. So there's the possibilities are pretty much endless if you can do design. And the other thing too that's neat is I've designed some parts for the house to fix, like shelving and stuff like that you can't buy or are expensive to buy or you can't find. So plastic parts. I've actually duplicated plastic parts for fridges and stuff like that I actually took the broken one, and you can scan it in, or you can just measure it, and then you just repair the part that's broken, print it out, and then you've got a part that you don't have to buy, and it works really well, right? There are also different types of plastic as well. But anyways, I'm going to end this off. It's longer than I thought it was going to be, but it's an intro to 3D printing. And if you guys want to learn about this stuff, let me know. I'd be happy to share my knowledge with you guys. It's a huge learning curve. So if you're ready to do this and you want to invest the time and the money, I would be happy to help. Anyways, guys, have a great one. Enjoy. Respect. Bye.